Yeah, it's just I think Peter loves to play the mind games, but it don't work with me. You know, I'm one world title away from almost matching his career. So, and I'm about 25 years younger. So, I think one world title would sort of match everything he's ever achieved in the game. So.
What if the #1 darts player in the world didn't just battle rivals on the oche, but faced mind games, boos from the crowd, and one of the strangest pre-match moments you'll ever hear about? This is the side of Luke Humphries you rarely see, the rivalries, the tension, and the moments that made him a lightning rod in the sport. In January 2022, during the second round of the Masters, one of darts' biggest stages, when a moment meant to be about precision and nerves instead turned into something else entirely. Luke Humphries, locked in a nail-biting battle against three-time champion Michael van Gerwen, was poised to strike for victory. Right in the final leg, Van Gerwen let out a cough. And that cough? It hit mid-throw. Luke paused. The crowd sensed something off. The air filled with tension. In the immediate aftermath, Humphries let his frustration slip out. He accused Van Gerwen of using the cough as a tactical distraction. Not subtle, not polite, entirely in the moment raw. The exchange ignited a heated back and forth. Professionals on stage, drama off it, and none of it was about the darts. That 10-9 loss became more than a match. It became a moment of mind games, nerves on edge, expectations shattered. Even in silence, a single cough changed the rhythm of everything. And it was exactly the kind of pressure cooker scene where careers and reputations are tested.
Yeah, he said, why did you cough? I coughed once, but yeah, sorry, he was 200 points behind, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Only 200.
It was March 3rd, 2024, the final of the UK Open at Butlins in Minehead, and what should have been a fast and furious head-to-head turned into a psychological war of rhythm. At 10-8 up, Dimitri, the dream maker, Vandenberg paused for an extended drink break before stepping back to the oche, a move that tipped the mood. The crowd's reaction turned from tense to outright hostile, jeering and whistling so loudly even Humphries tried to calm them down mid-leg. Luke was under the microscope, visibly unsettled. I wasn't angry with him. I'm used to Dimitri being quite a flowy player, whereas he's completely different now. He's incredibly slow, probably one of the toughest players to play against, Humphries admitted after the match, his calm tone masking the internal disruption. It wasn't about anger, it was about getting knocked off his own tempo.
Struggled with Dimitri's pace a bit there, and that's what it looked in. You were getting angry with yourself and maybe him a little bit for the pace. Did that feel it?
No, I wasn't angry with him, but I'm used to Dimitri being quite a flowy player, and it's quite a good pace to play against, whereas he's completely different now. He's probably one of the toughest players to play because he's incredibly slow, and it obviously takes a long time to take his darts out, and that's not what I'm used to with him. Obviously this is a new not tactic, it's like a new adaptation for his game that he's brought in for himself. And
Dimitri, meanwhile, stood firm. He later explained that the pauses were part of his routine. If I want to be at my best, I need to do what's best for me. I needed a few extra minutes to calm myself down. It's never about trying to take someone else out of their rhythm. He leaned into his mental prep and credited sports psychology for helping him stay composed under pressure, even as the crowd turned on him. The result? A brutal, nerve-wracking decider. Humphries missed 2 match darts. Vandenberg held on in a sudden death leg and snatched the title 11-10. A tactical, slow burn win that left both players altered. Luke rattled, Dimitri triumphant, and the crowd divided over whether the tactic was savvy or unsportsmanlike. At the 2024 World Championship, Luke Humphries, fresh off an impressive 4-0 third round win over Nick Kenny at the World Darts Championship, found himself in a battle before he'd even thrown a dart. His next opponent, Peter Snakebite Wright, was downplaying his illness and hyping himself up. Wright insisted that even if he wasn't 100%, he could still dismantle Humphries and Luke Littler. According to Wright, these little old guys can still do it, and he even boasted about matching up with them head to head.
What drives you on to be so mentally strong?
What drives me on? Luke Humphries and Luke Littler. What drives me on, because I know I can still compete with them. What I'm doing in practice, I can compete with these guys and actually be better than them. And I'm 54.
Humphries kept his cool, but didn't let it slide. In response, he calmly labelled Wright's words as pure mind games and pointed out the pressure now squarely on the Scot. All the pressure is on him now, because if he doesn't, the egg is on his face, not mine. He leaned into the facts. Wright is 25 years older, and Humphries is literally one world title away from nearly matching Wright's entire resume. That exchange didn't happen in a pub. It happened in the massive pressure cooker setting of Alexandra Palace's World Championship build-up. By leveling at 1-1, Humphries evened the mental game before Windsor had begun. But things didn't go his way ultimately. Wright surged ahead, winning the next 3 sets to eliminate the defending champion 4-1. If mind games from Wright were awkward, what James Wade did next, far stranger and way more tense. In March 2025, deep in the quarter-finals of the UK Open, held at Butlins in Minehead, when the atmosphere shifted from competitive to downright bizarre. As Luke Humphries and James the Machine Wade embraced on stage during their pre-match greetings, Wade did something wildly unexpected. He licked Humphries' neck. The move sent a ripple through fans and commentators alike, blurring the line between showmanship and something far more eerie. Humphries, usually the picture of composure, didn't let that slide. The tension crept into the match, and by the deciding leg, the customary handshake or fist bump, an unspoken ritual between pros, never happened. Instead, after a tight 10-9 defeat, Humphries gave Wade just a curt handshake and a slight shoulder barge before storming off the stage. That night, in a rare emotional eruption, Humphries tapped out a message on X, formerly Twitter, only to delete it minutes later. He wrote, "Everyone loves to see people be a bad loser, but I'm generally one of the best losers in the sport. I wasn't going to give someone who didn't deserve my respect after what he was doing through the game a hug. That's just my honesty." Even former champions were shaken. Paul Nicholson, calling it disgusting, argued that the lick may warrant an investigation and defended Humphries' icy reaction as measured and fair. In a single, surreal exchange, what should have been routine sportsmanship turned into one of the most talked about moments in darts all year, blending raw discomfort with blurred boundaries in a way few could have predicted.
All the teams, when we all first turned up in the first day, the only, and I'm not just saying this because they lost, but the only 2 players that didn't turn up together, didn't sit together, didn't play as a team, I'm not saying who they are, but they didn't win their first game.
Right after the stunning World Cup of Darts upset, when the tension took on a new angle, one from the past, Dennis "The Menace" Priestley, a 2-time world champion and PDC founding star, fired off 2 explosive critiques. First, he said that Luke Humphries and Luke Littler let their country down with their early exit to Germany, harsh words for the sport's top 2 players at the time. Then, he questioned whether either deserved their newly awarded MBEs, suggesting it feels very early given they've only won 1 world championship each. But the Lukes weren't taking it passively. Littler hit back on Instagram with, "Don't deserve an MBE, but done more in 12 months than he ever did." That's what I would say anyway. A diva move? Nope, just this. Humphries, cloaked in cool hand Luke composure, replied on X. "Disappointing to hear a top former pro who I admired say such a damaging thing. And I didn't let my country down last year though, did I? One bad game for us and we'll back next year. Let's move on now." Amid the swirl, voices from fellow legends joined the fray. Keith Deller, the 1983 champion, called Priestley's words a little bit harsh. He reminded everyone that pairs play isn't the same as singles, defended the MBEs as something granted early in other sports too, and reminded fans that even pros have the right to push back. Across social media, fans backed Humphries too. One user wrote, "Disgusting from a former pro to say they let the country down. I'm sure you lost more than your fair share of games that you were expected to win." Another commented on his poise. "Humphries showing he's a class act and good lad." So here's the deal. When a legend tries to toss credibility at you, the best response isn't to crumble, it's to clap back with class, and that's exactly what these 2 did. Tension born from clashing generations turned into one of the most talked about moments in darts all year.